Hello, Andrea St. Amand here. Today we're going to be talking about our abilities and how sometimes it seems like all of a sudden you've lost everything. And that happens a lot after a loved one has passed. And you're like, okay, I had this ability before. Why can I not talk to my loved one? And I do want to say that anybody watching this has experienced the loss of a partner, your husband, your wife, or a child. That's just awful. So I'm so sorry. But let's talk about what happens with our abilities in that situation. So this is near and dear to me. I've been through this. This is my story. And I'm also going to give you an example of of somebody else's story in case my story doesn't resonate with you. It's not yours. But so many of us by this stage in life, we've seen our sensitivities be very strong, maybe as children or and as teens or into our 20s, and then perhaps our parents discouraged us or scared us, or life really just got in the way and you need to deal with life, which is fine. That's why we're here. We're here to live in this reality. Hello, Rena. Um, and then something happens and it goes away. Or in some cases, all of a sudden in midlife in your 40s, you have a spiritual awakening. You're like, what the heck is going on? But anyone watching this video has the capacity and has the ability to live here in this realm and also sense what's going on in other dimensions and other realms. And that ability is very different from skills. So when you have the ability, it's kind of hit or miss, it's touch and go. And you're like, why am I getting this information? Why do I have it now? Why do I not have it then? It's because you have that ability, but you haven't taken the steps for skills. But then, so say you have your ability and something tragic happens, we're catapulted into grief. And grief works one of two ways. And think about grief or any sort of emotion or energy as like an energy ball. It helps me to actually think about it like that because energetically there is something kind of physical going on. So if you got a big ball of grief, that ball of grief might wallop you and actually open you up, that you never had abilities before, but now you do, or it shuts you down. And so what happens is like that ball of grief, think about that planting itself in your heart chakra, or right here. It's like having a shield or a curtain up over a window. And the curtain could be either shimmery, so where some stuff's getting in, but you can't talk to your loved one, or it could be a full blackout curtain where not like you used to be able to do something, you can't do anything now. So that's usually our bodies focusing us and saying you need to deal with 3D reality, but there is a way around this. So I want to tell you my experience, and I'm going to tell you the experience I have of a friend of mine. My experience when I was 16, my best friend committed suicide. And the night that he died, I had, this sounds terrible, but he was there with me in spirit. And we had like a good 10 minutes of a spiritual melding and communication. And then the next morning I woke up and I was in my human body and it was like grief, and that like a brick wall went into my heart. And that was it. I couldn't contact him. I tried for the next 20 some years, y'all. I could not contact him. And there would be times when I thought, I want to get a medium. Maybe a medium can help me have some communication with him. And I would go online or I would search for a medium, and I never could find the right person. I never could find someone that I trusted, that I felt like could give me a grounded reading. And it never dawned on me at that point in time that this was something I could develop myself, because I thought I just don't have an ability anymore. I used to, but I didn't. I never knew it was something I could actually learn how to do. So I just kept searching. And in the meanwhile, my 3D life was progressing and actually working itself out, getting me ready to where I am today. And suddenly, apparently, I was ready. And my psychic teacher, my Akashic Records teacher appeared, and my mediumship teacher appeared. And they were both women. I was like, where have you been before? I can actually learn that. I definitely wanted to study with them. They were very grounded, very successful. I trusted them. And the Akashic Records, I didn't even know what they were. I didn't know the concept or anything. It just appealed to me so much about seeing energy, and that is something I do really easily now. I can see energy and see where those balls of energy are stuck, and then help heal people. It's the same as like like a shamanistic journey where you're journeying into energy and other parts of your soul or other dimension, and you're healing, which in shamanism is called spirits of trauma. So that appealed to me so much. And when I did my own reading and my own healing work, of course, guess what came up? That big old ball of loss energy, and right in my heart. And my reaction to that was like, oh, I don't want to let that go. And I think a lot of us feel that way. When we have grief, we hang on to it so tightly because we're afraid if we let go of that energy of loss, of that ball of grief, that somehow we're letting go of that loved one. And I can tell you it is the exact opposite. When we let go of that grief and loss, and I'm not saying you let it go, you have to work through it obviously over time. But if you are willing to let yourself grieve but open back up a little bit, that loved one is standing right there. So I did a whole thing of letting go of that loss, and it was like the shield came off my heart and my third eye, the curtain was lifted. And I remember one day having to sit on the couch because a beam of white angelic, like just heavenly light was like right into my heart. And all of a sudden my heart was open. And when my heart was open, all my loved ones were there. They're like singing and dancing and tap dancing in front of me, like, we've been here the whole time, you just weren't ready for us. So that happens sometimes with mediumship readings too, like someone's in real grief